Would like to once again lead off today's video by saying a big thank you to everyone who is continuing to join us and sign up over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. It's only $1 per month, not per video, not per week. Even less than that if you sign up for an entire year at one time, fully refundable within the first 90 days. The primary focus of what we talk about over at Patreon is psychological operations. This is what my specialty was in the military. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I wasn't a super soldier. I wasn't some big door kicker or special operations, nothing like that. Just understanding the human mind, what motivates people, what makes them tick, and the tactics and techniques they use to make people believe things that aren't necessarily true. Would love to share this information with you. Would love to show you how it's done. The basic 24 cognitive biases, 24 logical fallacies, when you combine them and you use somebody's emotional state to manipulate them, they work every time they're tried. And unless you know what's coming, you're just going to fall victim to it. So once again, thank you to everyone who's there. Would love to have a lot more of you there. It would definitely make a difference. And the tide is starting to turn. Now, in today's video, I would like to share a theory that I have had about these craft that are appearing in our skies. I'm sure a lot of you already know that I don't believe they're coming from outer space. I believe that they exist in the deep oceans and are in Antarctica. Now, these three shapes make up the primary amount of reports across the globe. We have, of course, the TR-3B, the triangle shape. We have the Tic Tac craft from the infamous USS Nimitz incident. And then we have the saucer craft. Now, each of these is very distinct, and some have made assumption that, well, maybe this is a dark project of the U.S. military, or, maybe they've captured craft and they're doing. What I really think this is it's the same group. They just have different assets that they're employing for different missions, just like we do. You see, we have the U.S. military, and we have the Army and the Marines, and they're kind of alike, but one's Department of the Navy, one's Department of the Army. And then we have the Air Force, and then we have the, Naval Air Squadrons, and then we have the Space Force that works with the Air Force. We have the Coast Guard that kind of works with the Navy. So they kind of overlap, and they have evolved over time. I think what we're seeing here is an ultimate evolution of those divisions. Because when you look at the stories associated with these craft, they all kind of fall into some very strange categories. Now, the oldest reports that go back are, of course, the saucer craft. Now, my opinion is this. The saucer craft represent their science wing. The TR-3Bs represent their military wing. And the Tic Tac craft represent their intelligence reconnaissance / drone wing, each having their own missions. Now, when we are attempting to colonize outer space right now, what are we leading with? We, of course, have led with the saucer craft, meaning our science. I'm not saying that the saucer craft are ours. What I'm saying is that's what represents their culture. The oldest encounters were of saucers, and that's what human beings who said that they were abducted said they were abducted into. People have seen the saucers interacting with cattle. This could be their science division, just like we have a science division that we're leading with now. They also have a military division. These craft, these TR-3Bs, are huge. They move silently. And other than the lights, there's really nothing much you can do about them, kind of like a giant aircraft carrier. I mean, you can see an aircraft carrier all you want, not much you can do about it. And then, of course, this would represent these white Tic Tac craft. intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance for both. They can move through the oceans and the air seamlessly. They can pull G-forces and make directional changes that nothing that we have in the air can keep up with. We don't even necessarily know that they're manned. They could be run by their version of AI, and their job is just to go out, gather information, gather intelligence, and then get out of the AO and don't engage. These are all pretty solid missions that you would have if you were attempting to assess the threat level of a culture you didn't understand. The U.S. military has Northcom, Southcom, SOCOM, AFRICOM, CENTCOM, PACCOM, Cyber Command, all different divisions just to maintain control of the globe, so to speak. And just like us, there may be variations in their appearance. They may generally look alike. Some might be taller. Some might be smaller. Some might have larger eyes. Some might have a different shape. Some might even be more aggressive. Some might be less aggressive, just like we have. They might have disagreements amongst themselves, just like we do, about the direction of their culture or how they should go about reestablishing contact from Antarctica. If there's been a separation for a large amount of time, which has been my allegation all along, that there's a culture down there, they've been separated from the rest of humanity for a very, very long time, and there may be a desire amongst some of them, a faction, to reestablish contact, but amongst others, maybe not so much. That perhaps there isn't the faith or the trust, or maybe some of them just have ulterior motives, kind of like human beings do. Especially these tic-tac craft. See, form follows function. Design is not what it looks like, just what it looks like. It's just how it works. And could you imagine a better intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance craft than a tic-tac craft, based on what we've seen and described? They're not very big. They're barely bigger than the jets that were chasing them. And we have drones too that aren't manned, and they can do all sorts of things that our manned aircraft cannot. Now, one of the things that got me thinking about this, and those of you who are Stargate fans might remember this plot line. Who remembers Anubis? The character from Stargate, of course, there's the Egyptian god Anubis, but there was a character in the Stargate series named Anubis, and he created an army of these super soldiers. But they had a flaw. They were called the Coal Warriors. Now, these things were almost indestructible. They had a body armor that you couldn't penetrate. They had blasters on their wrists. They could walk right through force fields. All sorts of advantages, but they had a flaw. They were not designed to last very long. They could achieve a short-term mission, but not a long-term one. They were able to capture one of these and realize that they were basically on the clock, and all they had to do was outlast these guys, because eventually they would fall apart. You see, they were kind of a hybrid between an actual soldier and a kamikaze, whereas a kamikaze just goes in, kaboom, and that's all it can do. This was kind of a hybridized version of this, where they could go in and achieve some short-term mission objectives, but because of the organ failure was the story that they used in Stargate of these characters, because of all of their superpowers, their organs failed almost immediately. They were clones. So they had to make all sorts of different ways of keeping them alive short term. What if there were a group of people that were just using those things that we call grays as basically fodder, so to speak, to go out and collect information, collect intelligence, and bring it back? and then assess it, not wanting to put themselves in harm's way because they don't have the ability to go beyond, or they fear being captured themselves, tortured, interrogated, because, that is kind of what the U.S. military does. So they have these craft, and these craft each have a mission. The saucer craft are probably the most vulnerable because they are designed to interact directly. The other two are not. These TR-3B, they might be Overwatch, just in case type of things, whereas the other two actually have direct missions. One of the details of the Nimitz incident was that there was this exercise going on, and it was an entire carrier battle group, multiple destroyers, a couple of submarines, other craft as well, aircraft, combatant commands. And for 2 days, these little white craft operated right in their area of right in what they were doing. And that's why they finally dispatched F-18s. Clearly, these things were gathering intelligence. Most of the saucer crafts is at night. So they're going in under cover of darkness. People talk about being abducted at night, always at night. Why is it always at night? Because these are probably the most vulnerable. So they're using nighttime. Same thing with these craft here. They're providing overwatch. That in case things get hot, they can extract and get back to where they need to get to. So, just looking at things from a military standpoint, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that have a lot of different opinions, and I guess they would all be valid to some extent. Nothing is perfect, but generally speaking, this might be what we're looking at. So, anyway, I will leave it there. Join us over at Patreon. Would love to have you once again. It's only one US dollar per month. With everything else going on right now, the ability to understand the mind of your enemy, it's critical. It's absolutely critical. I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. Once again, thank you to everyone who's already there. I very much appreciate you. We will see you guys next time.